It's 2025 and people on Reddit are still asking questions how to build stuff and what are nodes in Hell Let Loose. So apparently we need another complete guide on how to play engineer in the game. Well, worry not soldiers, I am here to help you with that. In this video I will make a full breakdown on how to play engineer and address the most common questions which are being asked by new players. And while this guide will be great for new players, even us veterans might find interesting things inside. So polish your wrench, engineer, and join me for the complete guide on how to master the engineer class. Before we're gonna talk about what is stuff and what we can actually build, first we need to understand which loadout allows us to build in the first place. You see, not every engineer's loadout allows the player to build structures. You need to have a wrench. That is the most essential piece of equipment for any building engineer. Normally the level 1 engineer would have a wrench and the level 3 engineer would not. Like in this example, the US engineer level 3, which is called Sapper, which is my favorite class and role to play, does not have a wrench but does have a satchel, which I'm gonna talk about later. And now let's talk about the stuff that the engineer can build on the battlefield. I split them into 3 different categories. First one being the resource nodes, probably the most important thing any engineer can build, and they should be built as early in the game as possible. Resource nodes provide your team with manpower, munitions, and fuel, all essential for all commander abilities. Abilities such as spawning tanks, bombing the shit out of your enemy, or dropping you supplies for building defensive structures. You see, each one of these abilities costs a specific amount of resources, so providing your commander with a steady inflow of all 3 allows him to play a versatile game and give advantage to your team. Now, the defensive structures can be easily split into 2 separate categories, one being anti-personnel and the other ones being anti-tank. So as an engineer you will be able to set up barbed wire or build barricades which provide cover, bunkers which are excellent for establishing strong defenses in your key defensive areas, hedgehogs or Belgian gates which will stop the enemy armor from advancing. Each one of these structures, when placed strategically, can create a massive advantage for your team. And the last structure, which is a kind of a category of its own, is a repair station, and it does specifically what the name says. It repairs vehicles. Now, as an engineer, you need to understand that you are absolutely worthless without supplies. So you need to make friends. You need to make friends with these 3 specific things: supply trucks, supply drops, and support infantry. So supply trucks are these nice little trucks with the tarp over the back of the truck. That's how you can differentiate them from a typical transport truck. And it's absolutely morally and socially acceptable for an engineer to drive and use the supply truck. Unlike a rifleman, if you're a rifleman, do not touch the supply truck or you will be shot on sight. So supply trucks carry 2 supply crates, each one with 150 supplies in it. Now 150 supplies is enough to build a complete full set of nodes, as each node costs 50 supplies. If there are no supply trucks available, reach out to your commander directly asking for one, or use your officer to request that. I am sure the commander will be more than happy to spawn one for you. A competent engineer is one of commander's most valuable allies in Hell Let Loose. Now, supply truck isn't the only way you can secure the necessary resources for your building purposes. The other one is supply drops. Your commander is capable of dropping 100 units of supplies to a desired location on the map. Either liaise with your officer or reach out to your commander directly asking for a supply drop in a specific location and provide the purpose. Most of the commanders will gladly deliver those supplies to you. And lastly, you can coordinate your efforts with players playing the support infantry role. Each one of them carries a box that has 50 supplies in it and is on a 5-minute cooldown. So talk to them, as an engineer they will be one of your biggest friends on the battlefield. If you like this video so far, let me know by leaving a comment and check out my other tutorials. The links should be somewhere on the screen. So the how question is a question that's really easy to answer. Basically, the only thing you need to do is just grab your wrench, select the structure you want to build, and then place the blueprint of that structure in your desired location. Now, the desired location can be a bit tricky from time to time, because it will happen that you will not be able to place the structure you want exactly in the spot that you wanted. So you just, be creative and try to find a location which suits your purpose best. Once the blueprint is placed, you just need to grab your hammer and hammer at it until the structure is complete. Now, this is the time where other players can help you with that. If they have a hammer, they can increase the speed at which the structure is built, and they will also get extra experience points for that. Now, the where question is where actually things get really, really interesting. Let's start with the nodes, the most important structure an engineer can build. Now, as a general rule, you don't want the enemy to destroy your nodes. On the map, I've marked the likely directions of the enemy advancement toward your point and potential locations of the nodes themselves. Now, this does not guarantee that the nodes won't be destroyed, but it greatly increases their survival capabilities. And while the nodes will be built as far away from the enemy as possible, the defenses will be placed exactly where we are expecting the enemy to attack us. So, since this would be our second to last line of defense, I would, as an engineer, prioritize this location, as I would have enough time to set up solid defenses before the enemy progresses through the first 3 points. So the likely enemy assault directions would be from the south or southwest. We would design our defensive buildings and structures against those directions. So the idea would be to take out the road completely and force the enemy armor into open field. This way they are much easier to hit by our anti-tank units or even our own armor. We would do that by placing mines and hedgehogs on the road itself, and we would secure the south direction by building barricades and barbed wire. This way we will be able to have clear line of fire against the advancing enemy, and even if they manage to approach our lines, they will have to struggle with going over barbed wire, which is not easy at all. Lastly, we would build a bunker inside the point to cover for the potential assault from the forest on the east, and just to give some additional protection. Now, is this the best defensive plan that ever was created? Probably not, but it's decent enough and should allow us to hold this point for long, probably even for the full 30 minutes. And all of that can be accomplished by a single engineer, so as long as you have a plan in mind, you can really help your team win. But building things isn't the only way that makes engineer valuable on the battlefield and makes this class really fun to play. Now, as an engineer, you will have the capability of laying down mines, and it's really easy to forget, but I strongly recommend you to remember about that every single time you respawn. Now, friendly units cannot trigger mines, so you don't need to worry about placing them in locations where your, friendly troops will be going through, as they will not kill them. And throughout the game, you can really amass a lot of kills just by laying down mines here and there. The other really useful piece of equipment that you will carry is the blowtorch, and all the tank crews on the battlefield will love you if you will regularly approach them and use the blowtorch to repair their tanks. Given the firepower advantage that the tank provides on the battlefield, regularly fixing them instead of waiting for new spawns is an absolute game changer. Another really useful skill that you can use as an engineer is to dismantle enemy defensive structures. It can be incredibly important, especially when fighting close quarters or in towns like Carentan, where the enemy has blocked off some of the roads using barbed wire. You either need to approach the structure and dismantle it manually, or you can use the satchel charge and blow it to pieces. And finally, the satchel charge, probably my most favorite piece of engineer equipment. This little bag of explosives has enough punch to blow out an enemy heavy. It can also be used to clear enemy structures, or if you attach a satchel charge to a building, it's gonna kill pretty much everybody inside. Now, one note related to satchel charges: they can be manually removed by the enemy, so if you place one on a tank, keep an eye out, because it might happen that the enemy crew will leave the tank to simply remove the satchel charge. If you still want the satchel charge to work, you need to kill the enemy crew. I really hope you found this guide valuable. If I missed anything, please let me know in the comments. But for today, that's all I got for you. I'm Gertrix. Cheers, guys.